Cinephiles, film enthusiasts, and relaxation seekers. My name is Cinephile ASMR, and today we are talking about M3GAN. M3GAN is all about this toy company that has just newly invented an AI lifelike doll who can begin to think for themselves, process, and compute information based off of the person that they pair with. The longer that they interact with them, the more data they begin to accumulate and bond with the person. As this is going on, the creator of this doll has a niece whose parents just got killed in a car accident, so she undertakes her as the guardian. This is a perfect opportunity for her to test out M3GAN, and then M3GAN begins to bond with this little girl, but a bit too much, as she will literally do anything, such as fighting to the death to protect her. I'm not going to make any bones about the fact that I was not expecting anything from this movie, partially because it releases in January, which is mostly a month that studios offload projects they have no real faith in, to pave the way later on in the year for the better, bigger projects. But this, man, wow, I was thoroughly impressed. I will say right off the bat, I think the best thing that this movie has going for it is its idea. How do you differentiate yourself from being another toy that kills people like Chucky? That's one of the most iconic characters in the horror iconography. But I will say this script does a lot of justice to having some pretty intense moments that I was very shocked by, but also heavy comedy that had me really laughing. Don't get me wrong, this movie is a horror film, but I will say it definitely has its moments of fun, and it's the kind of movie that you have to see with your friends, even if they don't want to see it, because I had no interest in this whatsoever, but I came out of it thoroughly impressed. There is issues I have with the movie, but we'll talk about that in a minute, because honestly, what works is obviously the design of M3GAN. If you've seen the trailer, it's this uncanny valley look to itself, intentionally to give off this lifelike impression. But I felt such a bone-chilling experience watching this character whisk throughout the shadows and move to really get what they want as they bond with this little girl and they attach this relationship to one another. But things start to take a turn when she begins to form ideas and thoughts for herself, and it's those small moments where you think that she's turned off but her eyes are still on that really can get you. Outside of that, though, there is some characters that I thoroughly enjoyed, such as this little girl who did lose her parents, and she's battling that inner turmoil, as that is really the hardest thing a young child can experience. So she really confides in this AI person who isn't really a person, but that just goes to show how good the movie is at convincing you that. But honestly, she really does open the door for a lot of emotion to be had, as is the aunt of the film, who is this toy maker married to her work, but at the same time trying to find who she is, to be a mother, to be a role model to this person, to this little girl. I will say though, diving into one of my issues of the movie, I feel like the first third of this movie, the first act, takes a little too long to really establish emotional stakes and depth, when in reality, let's be real, the only reason why you're going to this movie is to see a killer toy kill. And I'm not saying it's a bad development, but I think really it takes a little bit too long trying to establish things where it could have been spent, on the kills. Even with that in mind, I enjoyed it. It does try to say a bit about grief, about the way that we compartmentalize it, how unhealthy it is to take off these vices and use them as a means of coping, when in reality you gotta confront that issue head on. But I just felt it did take a little too long to get that part of the movie going. But when it was all said and done, especially the last 30 minutes, I had a blast. As I was saying earlier, this is a movie you have to experience with as many people as possible. I went in with a relatively decent-sized crowd, and when those moments hit, especially the comedic ones, there is a needle drop for a music cue in the movie that I was rolling over the floor laughing practically. My sides were hurting, and the movie is very self-aware, and you kind of got to know that going in. If you expect it to be nothing but a horror movie as it has been kind of marketed, I think you will be a bit disappointed, because it does take some time to be a bit self-aware, to really comment on the fact this could potentially happen as we are moving so far in technology, but it also has fun while poking fun at it. And if you're into that kind of thing, that self-aware comedy in a horror, I think you will have a very fulfilling experience. Don't get me wrong though, the kills are great as well. There is some really inventive moments, but I will say my other big flaw with the movie is that honestly, I feel the movie was pushed back a lot by the PG-13 rating, and knowing that the movie was intended for an R rating, you can kind of tell because there are some very inventive kills, but it cuts away at moments that could have been made into cult status Hall of Fame for kills. Perhaps maybe they just wanted to maximize the amount of profit they could get for the film, or they just really wanted to make an audience go to see it of all ages. Of course, not like little kids, because that'd be kind of traumatizing, but I felt like the movie could have really benefited from going that extra mile with the blood on top of what was given. Even when that is all said and done though, I thoroughly enjoyed M3GAN, a movie that came out in January. I had no expectations, but really great marketing sold me on the project. Blumhouse really does have these really good diamonds in the rough when sometimes they kind of miss, but this one was a good hit to start the year, and I can only imagine when all the rest of the horror movies of this year come out, we'll look back and say that this was a great start, a great catalyst to hopefully an excellent year of horror. So with all that being said, a great new iconic M3GAN, who honestly, if Chucky wanted that beef, M3GAN wants the whole deli, because she goes at these people with full force. She's quippy, she's very like snarky, but it works. And I'm gonna say that she really is the backbone, which obviously is the script, good direction, and some really nice performances that comments a bit on how we process drama. I'm gonna give M3GAN a B. Again, this is coming from someone who had no expectations of it, and I think it's a great start to hopefully, again, a really good year, not just for horror, but for movies at large, because 2022, as I made a video prior, is what stands to me as being one of the most diverse, eclectic years for horror I think I've ever seen. And I'm not saying 2023 is going to live up to that, but give me some more of that diversity, and M3GAN really is starting that off strong. As always though, let me know what you thought about M3GAN down below. Did you like it? Are you excited about the rest of the horror movies coming out this year? Comment down below which ones you're excited for. For me, I'm very excited for Knock at the Cabin, Evil Dead Rise, and just those are like my main two, but there's a lot of good ones coming out. I love you guys so much, and as always, remember to take life one frame at a time.